Your furnace blows cold air, and your air conditioner doesn't. The water seems to go everywhere you don't want it to, and your kitchen and bath haven't been remodeled since the 50s. Well, welcome to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. Kansas City has depended on Dick Ray and Shawnee Mission Plumbing, Heating and Cooling to solve heating, cooling, plumbing, and remodeling problems for over 50 years. All you need to do is call 576-7798. And now the Master Plumber with a degree in mechanical engineering is here to help. Here's the potentate of pipes, the Earl of Electricity, the Emperor of Air, the Imperial Poobah of Plumbing, the Grand Toileteer, the Master Plumber, Dick Ray.
And good morning. You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber, and it's Father's Day. That is a good day. And I learned something this morning about fathers. And I was at church with Dawn and Pastor Dan. On Father's Day, that's what you talk about is your father. And Pastor Dan, in his sermon today, mentioned an interesting statistic. They did a study recently, and they asked a bunch of people who was the most important influence in their life. And of the men that were responding to the survey, 73% of them said it was my father that was the most important influence in my life. And boy, that certainly would be the case with me. I more and more every year, I've said this several times before, but I realize just more and more the older I get, I realize just how lucky I am. I used to think, hey, I'm a smart guy, and I'm doing well in business and my life is going well because I'm a smart guy and I work hard and all this stuff. And somewhere along the line, I began to realize, hey, Dick, this isn't all you. There's a lot of luck that has been involved in your life. You're lucky to be born in the United States of America rather than a third world country where you would not have the opportunity that you have in this wonderful country. You're lucky to have Dick and Shirley Ray as your parents. There are so many things. You're lucky not to be born in the ghetto somewhere. If you're born in the ghetto, your chances of becoming anything are much, much less. Heck, I'd probably be in prison somewhere now. Seriously. Anyway, I know that my father was the major influence in my life, and one of the things that he taught me was work hard. He taught me work ethic. He taught me that there was nothing wrong with grabbing a shovel with your hands and shoveling. Every summer when I was out of school, he'd find a project for me. And I remember one summer we had this locust tree. A locust tree is a tree that has thorns big thorns. These thorns, some of them are a foot long. And if you stepped on one, which my sister did one time, my sister stepped on a thorn and went clear through her foot. Anyway, my dad had added on to the house, and there was a locust tree. And this locust tree was 2 feet in diameter, and it was right next to a niche in the house where you couldn't cut it down with a chainsaw. And so my dad gave me the job this summer, and it took me all summer long, as I recall, to cut this tree down. And he bought a brand new bandsaw, which is a hand-operated band or a bow saw, and we set up a ladder and ropes, and I cut that tree down limb by limb. And when I got to the trunk's 2 feet in diameter, I took that big bow saw and just, I don't know how long it took me to cut through and get one section out, but I took that tree trunk down 2-foot section at a time. And it probably took me half a day to get each 2-foot section, or maybe all day, but I finally got it. And so anyway, I credit my dad with me not being afraid of working. And although there may be a problem with that too, I work all day at work, and then I go home and work on projects at home. And actually, it might be a bit of a problem because I probably don't make enough time for Dawn, my girlfriend. And so anyway, that is what it is. But anyway, we all should remember our fathers today, because he certainly, in most cases, was the best thing that ever happened to us, or one of them, that's for sure. Anyway, Back to the show here. We are the Home Improvement Hour. We talk about things on this show, things around your house. Actually, what we talk about are the things that I do every day for a living. And I'm going to talk today a little bit about water pressure. That's something that I see more and more problems with in homes. It's funny how things changes. I see problems. I mean, water pressure never used to be a problem, but it certainly is now. I keep hoping that I'll be in this business long enough someday to learn everything so that I will have seen everything. But just when you think you've learned everything, something changes and we have a new problem that we never had before, like frequent occurrence of bad water pressure, which I'm going to talk about today. We're still in my business. Air conditioning is one of the big things in the last few weeks. The weather's gotten hot. We're doing lots of air conditioner repairs and replacements, and we're still in this rainy weather. We've had lots of rain this year. The hayfield at my place looks wonderful. It's going to have double the number of bales this year as it did last year, probably. Boy, it's creating havoc with sump pumps. I'm sitting here in the studio before the show started 15 minutes ago, and I took a call from a woman whose sump pump wasn't working properly, and we're going to go out there tomorrow and probably end up replacing it, I suppose. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines. If you're a do-it-yourselfer and have a question and would like to get in early, right now, if you call, you're guaranteed to get an open line because all of the lines are open. So we're going to go ahead and open the lines. All you got to do is pick up the phone right now. Our number, 576-7798. Guaranteed to get a line right now, 576-7798. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about water pressure. I don't think I've talked much on this show in the past about the cure for poor water pressure in your home, but it's just become a problem that I deal with for so many of my customers that I decided to talk about it today. Now, there are some areas of town where the problem is just that there simply isn't enough water pressure being delivered by the water company to your house in the city water main. Now, that's a pretty unusual problem, but there are areas around Kansas City where the city just does not deliver much pressure in their water mains. And the one area that comes to mind immediately to a plumber is that older part of Kansas City, Missouri, right along Ward Parkway. And I don't know exactly what the problem with the water main is, but I suspect that the water main was probably too small to begin with when it was laid years ago, and it got even worse as that old pipe became even smaller yet, as the extremely old pipe became coated on the inside with mineral deposits and lime over many years of use. Now, we do service work in a church in that area, and their water pressure in the church is just terrible. I mean, really bad. It's so bad that they've started having problems with the Sloan flush valves on their toilets not working properly because of the terrible pressure. We measured the pressure once, and if I remember right, it was just barely 20 psi, maybe under that. Well, there is a cure for low water pressure in the main, which involves installing a pressure booster pump on the incoming water line, and that's a solution that I've talked to the church about. Well, anyway, that's a very unusual problem, so I'm going to save that topic for another show. And actually, I should at least mention that we're in the process of planning installation of just such a booster pump just south of the Kansas City metro area. We're going to put a booster pump like that in next week, probably this coming week. Anyway, that's a topic for another show. A more normal scenario is this. There's plenty of water pressure in the water main, and by plenty, I mean 60 psi or more. And actually, there are many, many water mains in the area where the water pressure is higher than what the code allows to flow through the pipes in your home, and that's not a good deal. Plumbing code says no more than 80 psi of pressure in the water lines in your home. Pressure higher than 80 is just hard on the plumbing system and on all of the appliances connected to the water, like the washing machine and dishwasher, ice makers, things that have electrically operated solenoid valves in them get especially beat up by high water pressure. Now, I don't know for sure, but I'm going to say that probably half or more of the homes in the area have water pressure that's quite a bit higher than 80 psi, which requires that a pressure-reducing valve be installed in those homes' main water line down in the basement usually to cut the pressure back to an acceptable level like 60 or 70 psi. Pressure reducing valves are very, very common. Lots of houses have them. Now, you're probably saying, well, if low water pressure in the water main is so unusual, and if most water mains actually have too much water pressure, then why do I have such lousy water pressure in my house? The answer is two words: flow restriction. Now, let's talk about an older house, and 60 years plus old, let's say, a house where all the old water lines are the original steel pipe, which was the material used back in the 50s and before for water lines. Well, steel pipe that is 60 years old, on the inside of the pipe, it gets a coating of mineral deposits and lime and rust that is really bad. And a pipe that originally that had a smooth half-inch inside diameter ends up with a tiny, tiny passageway in it that water can just barely flow through. I mean, it just dribbles through a pipe like that. If you were to check the water pressure in an old home like that, and if no water was running anywhere in the home, you'd likely find that the water pressure was perfectly normal, maybe 70 psi. But turn on just one faucet in that old house, and the water pressure will often drop to 30 psi or less, and the water just barely dribbles out of the spout. Remember, we had 70 psi in the main, but flow restriction caused the pressure to drop to 30, half or less. Anyway, about 2 weeks ago, I was working in a house doing some other work, and the homeowner asked to see what could be done about their poor water pressure. And this was an older home in Roland Park, built in the 40s or 50s, and the water just barely dribbled out of their faucets, all the faucets all over the house. Well, after crawling around their crawl space a little, I could see that a lot of the original steel water piping was still in place. Some of it had been replaced in kind of a hodgepodge manner to fix leaks that had rusted through the old steel pipe over the years, but there was just a lot of the old steel piping left that I just knew was what was causing the flow restriction, which caused the pressure drop and poor water flow. Well, I crawled up out of the crawl space, and I told my customer, I hate to tell you this, but to do this and do it right, I really need to just remove all of the old water lines and just start over with brand new water lines. 3/4 inch main water lines and 1/2 inch branches to every plumbing fixture in the house. Now, that's a lot of money, especially working in a crawl space like this one was, thousands of dollars. And my customer naturally wasn't thrilled about spending that kind of money. But I said, look at it this way. Someday you're going to want to sell the house. And when you do, your water pressure with water just dribbling out of the faucets, hey, that's not going to be acceptable to the buyer. And they'll want you to give them $4,000 so they can repipe the house and get good pressure back. That just cost you $4,000 off the sale price of the house. Well, why not take that $4,000 right now and go ahead and repipe the house right now? I mean, you're going to have to spend that money when you sell the house anyway. Why not spend it right now and enjoy the wonderful water pressure for the next 10 years or until you sell the house, instead of suffering with water just barely dribbling out of the faucets? It just makes sense. And anyway, when we got done repiping the entire house, the daughter, who it turns out had gone to high school with my plumber, Dan, she told Dan that she'd lived there with poor water pressure since she was in high school 20 years before, and that for the first time in 20 years, the pressure was good. It was wonderful for the first time. Anyway, wow, I'm running out of time here. I may have to talk about this some more on another show, but I will mention one more very, very common problem that I see frequently in a more modern home, one that does not have the old steel water lines, one that uses more modern water lines like PEX plastic or copper. Well, PEX and copper, they don't get plugged up, and very often in a newer home with poor water pressure, the flow restriction is actually in the pressure reducing valve, whose job it is to reduce pressure from, say, 100 psi in the water main down to 70 psi. Well, as those pressure reducing valves get older, it isn't uncommon at all for them to get plugged up and reduce the pressure even further. And in that case, the solution is to replace the pressure reducing valve with a new one. Usually when that happens, they're getting pretty old anyway. Enough on that topic. If you have any questions about what causes low water pressure or the cure or flow restrictions or water pressure booster pumps, phone lines are now open. So give me a call. Actually, only one line open. Call in right now and you can have it. Or if you have questions about really anything else, call me. Or if you have a question about something else mechanical in your home, or if you've got a do-it-yourself project you'd like to have a little bit of help with, I'll be glad to talk about that too. And keep in mind, I do the things that we talk about on this show. That's what I do for a living every day. Things like fixing and replacing broken air conditioners and furnaces and heat pumps and plumbing repairs. So if I can pass on any information to you that'll help you, I'm more than glad to do it. All you got to do, pick up the phone right this minute. Got one open line, 576-7798. So give us a call. Oops, it's ringing. It was open. You have to wait till somebody drops off. You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. This is Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. If you're like a lot of people and just hate your toilet because it gets plugged so frequently, and if you're at the point where you're saying, I'm sick of this, I want the best flushing toilet known to mankind, then you want a Gerber Ultra Flush toilet. It still only uses 1.6 gallons of water per flush, but that 1.6 gallons of water is stored in the toilet tank under pressure, and when it's released, you've never seen a flush that powerful in anybody's home. It's really dramatic. Often people will put things down toilets and public restrooms that they wouldn't in their own homes, like rags or handy wipes or tampons. Or maybe you have a family member with large, firm stools. Whatever the reason, if you really want the most powerful flush available, you want a Gerber Ultra Flush toilet. You can see the flush in the live models in my showroom, too. Gerber Power Flush toilets installed by Dick Ray, the Master Plumber, the best that money can buy.
Kohler products offer intrinsic quality born of tradition. Skills passed down through generations combined with innovative techniques and timeless design to establish the enduring character for which Kohler is known. There is no substitute for the knowing hand that sculpts the rim of a pedestal lavatory or the eye that precisely measures the thickness of enamel on red-hot Kohler cast iron as if by instinct. The experience is bold. The experience is art. This experience is the bold look of Kohler. See it all at the showroom of Dick Ray, the Master Plumber.
This is Dick Ray, the Master Plumber at Shawnee Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Not many plumbers own a backhoe and dump truck like I do. Means they either don't dig up and repair underground plumbing lines at all, or if they do, they have to hire a subcontractor to do the work. And that means more expense and a slower reaction time. I own my own Case 580 backhoe, so I can react quickly in emergencies without having to hire a subcontractor who's not really a plumber. So if your sewer needs repaired or your underground water line replaced or an underground gas line or fire line needs repaired in a hurry, call me. I specialize in that kind of work, and I have the sewer camera and pipe locators needed to make the job go more quickly and efficiently. Underground Plumbing Repairs by Dick Ray, the Master Plumber, the best that money can buy.
This is KMBZ.
We're back. You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. We're going to get on the phone lines here and spend the rest of the hour answering questions for folks, and we will start with Lynn in Paola. Hi, Lynn. What can I do for you?
I have a question about the ductless heating systems that you talk about. I have an old story-and-a-half house that only has a wall furnace and no central air and a very low crawl space. So I was wondering if something like that would be a good option for me, and if so, do they run on what kind of electricity do I need, electric service?
So you have heat in this old house, but no air conditioning, right?
And it's only a wall furnace downstairs.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Okay. So you don't have much heat upstairs either. Who?
Oh,
it's
like virgin territory.
If you had a house that that had a good heating system, but it doesn't have air conditioning, and a lot of houses are like that, then the ductless mini splits are a perfect thing for you. Because they're an extremely efficient way to air condition a house. Now, if you need to heat and cool the house, that's a different story. You can put in a heat pump and you can heat and cool a house with a heat pump, but the problem in our colder climates is that we size heat pumps for air conditioning load. That's important. They have to be sized for the air conditioning load. And so when the winter comes on a milder day, if the temperature doesn't get down below, 30 degrees or so, then the heat pump will heat your house just fine. But a heat pump in this climate, when it gets really cold, gets down into the teens and zero and below zero, they will not heat your house. So you always have to have some sort of auxiliary heat when you put in a heat pump. And so although I love the ductless mini splits, it's not a good choice because they don't have any form of backup heat in them. A central heating unit with a heat pump, you'll notice that a central heat pump always has a backup gas furnace or a backup electric furnace, and that's not an option with the mini split. So anyway, sorry, I didn't tell you.
I thought they were like a freestanding heat and a freestanding air in one unit. But
they
they're
are
really not like that.
Yeah, they are heat and air in one unit, but we can put in a unit that will cool your house just perfectly, but that same unit's not going to be big enough to heat it on cold days. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I was thinking about for a room, like just for the upstairs, just to put a freestanding unit upstairs.
It's
not
still
really...
it's still gonna have the same problem. If you have a house, and there are a lot of houses where that has central air. There are a lot of houses that have central air, and in the upstairs, it's in the summertime, it's just too hot. A house like that, where they have heating upstairs, but they need more cooling capacity, boy, the mini split is a perfect solution for that. But see, they already have heating upstairs. But in your situation, you don't have heat or cooling of any kind except that wall furnace downstairs. And so, I'd love to tell you that it's a good alternative, but it's not. I'm not telling you what you want.
No, I was just hoping.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you, though.
All righty. Thanks.
Okay.
All righty. That opens the line. If you'd like to join us, our number 576-7798. Only got about a minute till the news, so I'm going to do things out of order here a little bit. Oh man, hope that doesn't mess me up. Lots of phone calls today. We do have one open line, but we usually have a lot of phone calls, and so anyway, I just wanted to remind you that you don't have to call in during the show if you weren't able to get in. I welcome calls anytime, not just during this show. And I know the lines on this show are usually full, and I'm sincere when I say that I'm glad to answer your questions anytime you need a little bit of help. Really, all you have to do is call my regular business number. If you weren't able to get in today, or if something comes up later in the week, I'm going to give you this number in a minute so you can write it down and ask me for help anytime during the week, and I'll try to help you with whatever you happen to be working on. And frankly, a lot of those callers just want me to come out and do the work for them. Of course, I love that because that's how I make my living every day. But even if all you want is a little free advice, I'll do my best to help you. And the number is 913-888-0550, and it rings to my cell phone after normal working hours. It rings beside my bed at night, so I'm really easy to get a hold of. And don't hesitate to call me. A lot of people feel like they're imposing on me calling after 5. I don't look at that way. And you talk directly to me, not to an answering service. You talk to me. So again, don't hesitate to use the number 913-888-0550. Gonna break for the news, and then we'll be right back to the phones.
This is Kansas City's news, traffic, and weather station. This is KMBZ, Kansas City.
11:31 in Kansas City from the KMBZ newsroom. I'm Andrew Yates. A vacant home at 6th and Indiana catches fire around 2 o'clock this morning, and in the process, the heat from the fire damages the home next door. According to our reporting partners at Channel 9, the fire displaced a family of 4 who is now staying with relatives. No one was hurt, and how the fire started is being investigated. Now your forecast from staff meteorologist Sally Russell.
Wet and stormy weather back with us as we head through the day, especially this afternoon. We're looking at the best chance of some showers and storms. Temperatures this afternoon right around 85. Tonight, some scattered showers and thunderstorms hanging on, an overnight low upper 60s. Partial sunshine for Monday with some scattered showers and storms back with us, a high near 85. Now Tuesday, wall-to-wall sunshine, our highs on Tuesday near 80, and Wednesday sunshine, a high into the lower 80s. I'm staff meteorologist Sally Russell, KMBZ weather.
Right now it's 76 degrees in downtown Kansas City and 74 degrees at your official weather station. I'm Andrew Yates. Stay connected with 98.1 FM KMBZ and KMBZ.com.
This is Dick Ray, the master plumber at Shawnee Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. The biggest problem with repairing a broken sewer is figuring out exactly what the problem with the troublesome sewer is, and then, more importantly, pinpointing the exact location of the problem so that it can be either dug up under the basement floor or outside the house in the yard. Knowing what the problem is and where to dig is crucial to minimize costs and to minimize the amount of digging needed. We bought a sewer inspection camera years ago so that we can run it through your problem sewer to see where the problem is and to pinpoint exactly where to dig to minimize costs when we come back with our jackhammer to dig under your basement floor or come back with our backhoe to dig up your sewer outside. We do a lot of this kind of work, and we're good at it. Sewer Repairs by Dick Ray, the master plumber, the best that money can buy.
This is KMBZ. KMBZ.
This is Dick Ray, the master plumber. Lots of my customers call me, especially in the winter, complaining of not enough hot water from their water heater. Now, they could install a bigger water heater, but that's expensive. Or they could turn the temperature up on their water heater, but that's dangerous. They could get scalded. Well, good news. I can install a Cash Acme tank booster on your existing water heater, and you can end up with about 50% more usable hot water. That's 50% more time in the shower. The tank booster allows you to turn the temperature on your water heater up to a higher temperature setting without the danger of scalding, because it automatically tempers the water to a safe temperature. Tank Booster is built by the 100-year-old Cash Acme Company, synonymous with quality. Tank Booster, installed by Dick Ray, the master plumber, the best that money can buy.
This is KMBZ.
This is Dick Ray, the master plumber at Shawnee Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. One of my plumbers went on a call recently to look at a toilet which had been backing up in the bathtub for 4 years. Yuck! 2 other plumbers had looked at the problem with no solution. The last one said there was a problem with the pipe under the bathroom floor and that the floor was going to have to be removed to fix it. We're talking thousands of dollars. I suggested that we pull the toilet to run a sewer camera into the line to see and locate the problem before tearing up the floor. Well, when my plumber pulled the toilet after inspecting the tub drain through an access panel, he found a slightly tilted toilet flange causing the funnel on the wax seal to not seat properly and to scoop water directly into the tub drain. My plumber installed a different type of flange seal, and an hour later, the problem was completely cured without even having to run the camera. Moral of the story? Not all plumbers are created equal. Dick Ray, the master plumber, the best that money can buy.
Opinions expressed on the following paid commercial program are those of the host and guests and do not represent the opinion of KMBZ or Entercom Kansas City.
We're back. You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the master plumber. That would be me, and I'm here every Sunday from 11 to noon to try and give you a little bit of an education or make you a little bit smarter about how some of the stuff in your home works, or to give you advice if you're a do-it-yourselfer, stuff like that. We're going to get back to the phones. We got one open line if you'd like to grab it. Now's the time, 576-7798. And we're going to talk to Gary first here. Hi, Gary. What can I do for you?
Morning. You may have commented on this in the past, but I missed it. The city of Kansas City and I think several others suddenly came up with this insurance plan for the water line and the sewer line.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't have any feel for how long. I think we have copper coming into this house. It was built in the early '60s, and that's what's sticking through the basement floor.
Mm-hmm.
how long does copper tend to last around here? Is there a rule of thumb on that?
Okay. Well, you just answered one of the questions. I was going to ask you to give you a good answer to the question.
Okay.
And for other listeners that may not know what you're talking about, you've received a solicitation. Usually the solicitations come from the city or the water department or the sewer department, and they're recommending that you buy insurance on your water line that would pay for this expense of repairing or replacing the underground water line into your house if a problem should occur with it. And same thing with the sewer line. And it's an insurance policy, and it's not very expensive. It costs about $50 a year, or maybe a little more than that.
Kansas City is $61 a year per service, but if you get them both, it's only $120.
Okay, okie doke. So now I'm going to say I hate saying political stuff on this show. If you knew what I really was like, you'd say, that son of a gun, I'm never listening to him again. But I'm going to get a little bit political on this one.
Okay.
First of all, and I will get back and answer your question too, but first I'm going to say, number one, I don't think that it is government's job to recommend who I buy insurance from or what plumber I deal with or stuff like that. I think it's city's job to do things like put out the fire at your house if it catches on fire, and to hire policemen to make sure that we're safe in our homes. But I don't know. I think I kind of, and I think there's even more when this insurance is not a new thing. It's been going on for, I think I first heard about it over 5 years ago. But what I found out just recently is that the city gets a 10% commission if you buy insurance from this insurance company. The city gets a 10% commission. Now, what do you think if Dick Ray, the master plumber, went to some city and said, hey, Mr. Mayor, I would like you to mail out this letter. I'll pay for the cost of the letter and I'll pay for the postage, but I'd like to have you sign this letter. And the first letter I ever saw was signed by the mayor of Prairie Village recommending that, that this homeowner buy this insurance on her sewer. Mr. Mayor, my name is Dick Ray, and I've got this letter, and I would like for you to send it out to all the people in Prairie Village or Kansas City or whatever city you're in charge of. And I would like for you to say, hey, homeowner, I highly recommend that if the next time you have a plumbing problem or a problem with your air conditioner, that you call Dick Ray, the master plumber. And Mr. Mayor, I'll give you 10% of whatever business we do for the homeowners in your city as a result of that letter. That's not right. That's unethical. That's not city's job. Anyway, so with that being said, I'll get back to answering your question, which is why you cost. You said that you had a copper water line coming into your house. And so $50 a month to have insurance against repairs of your water line, that's not a lot of money, but I'm going to say that if you have a copper water line that runs from the meter out in your front yard into your house, the chances of that line having a problem or developing a leak, let me put it this way. You got a better chance of walking out your front door this afternoon and being struck by lightning. Copper water lines just don't have problems. So with a water line made out of copper, that's an easy one to answer. I wouldn't buy it.
Okay.
Now, if you lived in a 70-year-old house and you had the original steel water line, then I'd say jump all over it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because. But I'm also finding that most of the people that I talk to, the insurance companies are not dummies. They're sending these letters out to newer neighborhoods that probably have copper water lines. I don't think they make a...
Not the whole city, huh? They pick their zip codes or something?
I don't know. All I'm going by is the people that I talk to on the phone generally are people like yourselves that when I talk to them and ask them, do you have a copper water line, they say yes. I don't talk to people generally that say, yeah, I live in an 80-year-old home and that's got a steel water line. I think the insurance companies are being smart about this, and I think they're not mailing them out the areas that are the older parts of town where they might have to have a claim on it.
Right.
I don't know that for sure, but if they're mailing them out to older homes, I'm sure not talking to those people on the phone.
Okay. Well, so you think the copper line? See, this place is about 50 years old, and you think that's well within the lifespan of a copper line?
Oh yeah, copper lines. I mean, they'll outlive. I mean, who knows what the lifespan is?
Okay,
but
well,
they just don't cause problems. The sewer is more difficult to give you an answer on that. The sewer, if you've lived in the home for 10 years and haven't had any sewer problems, then I would be inclined not to buy the insurance. But if you live in a home 10 years and you've had some problems with it, even if it's just tree roots in the sewer and you have to have them cut out every year or so, then your chances of having a problem are greater. So, but that's more difficult for me to give an answer on a sewer.
Right, and yet your rule of thumb is we've been here over 10 years and never had an outside sewer problem. So.
Okay, well, I'd tend to save my money then. What's going to happen? You're going to not buy the insurance, and then 6 months from now, you're going to have a $5,000 sewer repair, and you're going to say, that damn Dick Ray.
Well, I tend to agree with you, but there's a female in the household that kind of is more prone
I'm
to
not
buy
going to
insurance than I am.
touch that one. I'm not going to touch that one.
Well, I'll have her call you if it comes up then.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, thanks a lot now. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for the call. Yeah, I've never been married, and no wife, no kids, and so I jokingly say to my friends, said, "Oh yeah, I'm an expert on two things, besides plumbing and air conditioning. I'm an expert on women and child rearing," and they just bust out laughing when they hear that one. Oh boy! Hey, let's see. Next caller here is Beverly. Hi, Beverly. What can I do for you?
Well, we live out in rural Jackson County, and I don't know if it's the water system here or what. We never had any trouble when we lived in Independence, but we get black mold in our stools in the summer, particularly.
Yeah.
And it looks like streaks of it. So, is there something I can do to help take care of that, alleviate that problem? It's very difficult to control.
Yeah. You're on a public water supply like city water or rural water?
Rural water.
Okay. And so that water's treated. It's got chlorine in it. Does the toilet get used daily?
Yes.
Okay. Golly, I have never understood that. I've had a number of people ask me that question. I wish I knew what to tell you. Chlorine in the water is put there to kill things that are, mold, bacteria, stuff that might otherwise grow in the water. And although chlorine will dissipate in the water, if the water sits in a toilet bowl, for a week or even a few days, I think the chlorine will dissipate. But
this is like streaks coming down, though, on the sides. It's not like a ring around it.
I don't know what to tell you on that one. I tend to think that it's not mold, though. I don't know. Maybe it's a disintegration of the rubber flapper in the toilet. I don't know.
It only happens in the summer, though, when it's humid.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So we don't have any trouble in the winter.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I really don't know what to tell you, Beverly.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that one.
Thanks anyway.
You know what you might do is call the water department, and they may say, "Oh, I know exactly what that is. It's not the water. It's blah blah blah, and here's what you do about it."
Mm-hmm. Well, I would
better than I did anyway.
I don't trust them too much, but
you don't. Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Beverly. All righty. That opens the line if you'd like to join us. I got one open line, 576-7798. We're going to talk to Clay. Hi, Clay. What can I do for you? Clay, are you there? Clay. Going once, going twice. Clay is gone. Okay, I'm going to have to give up on that one, and we will go next to. And Clay had a question about a pressure reducing valve. That would have been a good call too. Usually, I don't get calls about what I talked about in my opening monologue. Oh, let's see. Let's talk to John next. Hi, John. What can I do for you?
Yeah, hi. I live up in Plattsburgh, and our home was built in 1868. We have a hodgepodge of different piping down in our crawl space and cellar.
Okay.
The issue I'm having is I've replaced a lot of it to our bathroom and our kitchen with copper.
How old did you say the house was?
It was built in 1868.
Okay. They didn't even have water back then. But anyway, you have the old original steel water lines that were put in at some point.
We do have some of those. I think I bypassed all them and finally, like I said, I have copper going to the dishwasher, the washer machine, kitchen, and bathroom.
Okay.
The issue that I'm having, though, is that the pressure for my outside faucet is nil. So I was wondering if there's a way that you could recommend to go ahead and get that pressure increased.
Oh, you know what you have to do is look at you have to crawl down in the crawl space and trace the water line from that outside faucet to wherever, all the way back to the main line. And if there is if that pipe is all brand new copper pipe or plastic or something because copper and plastic pipe, they just don't get plugged up. And so if you trace it all the way back to where the main water line comes into the house and it's all newer copper or plastic pipe and there's not any steel pipe at all, then that just about says that the problem's got to be in the faucet. But if you find, there's a 6-inch steel nipple that's still in there, then replace that first. Because chances are that's what it is. Now, outside faucets don't usually get problems in them that cause a flow restriction, but every now and then you'll find one where the rubber washer on the end of the stem broke loose and it lodged itself in a bad place. And in a case like that, taking it apart and putting a new washer in the faucet or replace the faucet, one of the two. That help?
Okay, great. I'm going to try it. We'll see what happens.
All right. If that doesn't fix it, call me back.
Will do. Thank you.
Bye-bye. All righty. That opens the line. If you'd like to join us, 576-7798. You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. And I'm in a good mood today. Of course, well, I don't know. Hopefully, Dawn says I'm not always. Who knows? Anyway, let's see here. Let's talk to John. Hi, John. What can I do for you?
Yes, sir. I had a quick question about a toilet in my bathroom. I'm getting some water seepage in the back of it. Is that the wax ring seeping or what?
Okay, you get water on the floor, kind of behind the toilet a little bit.
A light film of water on the rear of the toilet. Yeah.
Usually it's a wax seal, but here's some things to do before you decide that's what it is for sure. Okay. Run your hand up and down the water line that feeds out of the floor or out of the wall, and run your hand along that all the way up to where it goes into the toilet tank. And see if it's bone dry. If it is, that's not the source of the problem. The other area that you want to check, there is a gasket between the tank and the bowl on the toilet, and there's a couple of 3 bolts, and you feel those bolts and you feel the porcelain up in that area. And if that also is dry, then it's the wax seal in the toilet, and you pull the toilet and replace the seal. And also, if you have to replace the wax seal on the toilet, my advice and the advice of the guys that work for me, they like the Fluid Master waxless seals a lot better. They're just a lot. Fluid Master waxless seals. They're a lot more reliable, less troublesome. They won't work on all toilets, but almost every one.
Okay.
Okie doke.
Well, I just replaced the fill valve in the toilet, so I'll be sure and check that too.
Oh, okay. Now I'm not going to say anything, but could have a leak there on the water supply.
I got you, sir.
Okay.
Enjoy your show. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Thanks for the call, John. Oh, how can I be so happy when it's cloudy out there? Well, it's not raining. That's good. Let's see. We got Norman. Hi, Norman. What can I do for you?
Well, I'm a retired water department employee. I worked 30 years for the Kansas City, Missouri Water Department. 25 of them I was a water department inspector. So I've seen I wrote a lot of notices.
Am I going to get in trouble for what I just said then?
No, I really just want to reinforce a couple of things that you said. One of them, I can tell you, the lady called about the crud in her toilet. And whenever we had a problem with some weird water, the city has to send a laboratory inspector out, and they will take a sterilized bottle and fill it up with that water and test it and see exactly what is in that water.
See if there is a problem. Well, that sounds smart.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about the city is if I come out to your house, I'm going to charge you for it. But if the city comes out to do a test like that, I would guess they wouldn't charge you anything.
You're correct. I think by law they pretty much got to get out there and find out what's in that water because they don't want anybody to have a problem.
Okay. Well, I hope you still listening.
Yeah. And the second one about the insurance on these water lines, you're absolutely correct. If you've got a copper line, we used to say it's going to last 200 or 300 years. Copper's just going to last and last. The house will fall apart before. So it's a big rip-off unless you've got a real long run of copper to your house. The only thing that's going to leak in those 100, 200 years is a connection. Yeah. And as you know, they usually use about 60 to 40-foot rolls of copper unless they're being cheapskate and they're piecing pieces together. So it would just be a connection. Even then, a guy can dig it up and fix it for probably less than a couple of years of your insurance. So
plus the connectors on copper tubing. The flare connectors, I'd say they're as reliable as the pipe itself is.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So if you've got a copper line, and you can find that out through the city, I could make a phone call. They've got all the permits, all the things that have been placed underground. That's all on a computer, so you can find it out in a second. You
can look at the pipe coming through your basement wall too. If it's
that's right.
It's copper.
And if you can't tell the difference between copper and galvanized steel, just put a magnet on it, and the magnet will stick to the steel, but it won't to the copper.
Now, what do you think about the city making a recommendation that I buy insurance and getting a 10% commission on it?
You're absolutely right.
That's what really gets me.
That is a political deal to me.
God.
And here's how I think it's set up to play out. Number one, you can guess which company's getting all these or a bulk of all these contracts. So what they're doing is they're building up these certain companies, and they're getting backhoes and workers and workers.
Yeah.
And eventually, what I think is that's going to lead to privatization of the water department because they're going to have so many of these guys on retainer, and they can slowly just start, privatizing the water department and farming out main breaks and everything else, which they have done in times of a lot of main breaks in the middle of the winter or the middle of the summer when most of these main breaks and stuff happen. They give it to these certain companies, so you can see that's probably where this whole thing's headed.
Oh boy, well that's very interesting. I'm glad you called, Norman.
Yeah, I'm glad I heard it.
All righty,
some people advice. Good show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, I was. He backed up what I said, I guess. That should make me happy. That opens the line, 576-7798. And let's see here. We're going to talk to Grandma Mary.
Well, hello, Dick. I am so glad I listened to you. My gosh, it just opens up my eyes even more. Thank you so much for having a show like this.
Well, you're welcome.
The reason why I'm calling, Dick, is because my son, he lives over here in Independence, and he has an underground stream. And I mean, it's steady going.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, listen, maybe we should get somebody over here to dig a well.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, do you have to have a permit?
To dig a well?
Have the water department to check, see if there's any lines running like Rob suggested?
Now, I'm not an expert on well drilling by any means, but I'm 90% sure that you have to have some kind of a permit from the state of Kansas, maybe to
No, Missouri.
drill a well. Oh, Missouri. Well, okay. Well, whatever state
Either
you're
way.
in. Yeah, and then I mean, I don't know. I mean, the well drilling people are going to know that a lot better than me. I don't drill wells, but.
Well, do you think call the city or call?
I'd call a well driller. They'll know what the permits are. Or call 2 or 3 to make sure that they all tell you the same thing.
Right.
Or call the city. Yeah, call the city.
Either way, I'll call them both.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
You bet. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Grandma Mary. All right, I like that. Oh, let's see here. We got Bob on the line. Hi, Bob. What can I do for you?
Thanks for taking my call, Dick.
Sure.
We built in 1970, and we had no sewers in the area, and the ground wouldn't percolate for laterals.
Yeah.
So I put in I called the state and got the measurement for a filter bed.
Okay.
We're using about 200 gallons of water a day.
Okay.
And we first had field tile, from the septic tank to the filter bed, and then out to the drainage above ground.
Yeah.
And I had that filter bed.
They let you drain it above ground?
Right.
Wow, I don't think they'll do that anymore.
Well, the state sent an engineer out.
Oh, really?
And
how long ago was that they approved that?
It was 1970.
Okay. I'll bet you they wouldn't allow that. There are some septic systems where the effluent that comes out you could almost drink, and yet they still won't let you run it out on the ground. Or that's what I've always heard.
We built 225 feet off the road, and we've got like 2.5 acres.
Okay.
So
I may be wrong. I have been before.
Well, anyway, what I'm wondering is, when I replace that, I use plastic with couplings.
Yeah.
And we're getting hardly any discharge at all out of the pipe above ground.
Yeah.
Where does that water go to?
Okay, you're running the effluent out to the street, and it comes or out to somewhere, and so all the water that goes into that pipe, which is 200 gallons a day, I think you said, should be coming out the other end of the pipe. Now, you said you use plastic pipe with couplings.
Right.
There's the answer right there. That I'll bet you. PVC pipe is brittle, and there's a joint every 20 feet, and I wish I had a nickel for every PVC underground water line that I dug up that had problems. It's just, there are better materials to use that. I mean, you take a piece of PVC pipe, and if I were to drive over it with my dump truck, it'd shatter in a million pieces. There are other kinds of pipe that we use for water lines, a high-density polyethylene pipe. I drive over it with my dump truck, and it might squash it flat, but it won't break it, and it'll slowly come back to its original shape.
Yeah.
I bet you you got a leak.
That filter bed, it's so deep and so wide.
Oh.
And I used a special kind of sand out of.
And it's been so dry for 2 years. Hey, let me put you on hold. I'll talk to you off the air because I'm out of time here.
Okay, thank you.
You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. Let's see. Dorothy and Matt and Bob, hang on. I will talk to you off the air. If in the meantime, if something comes up, you need to talk to me this week, call that number anytime you need to, 913-888-0550. Enjoy next week.
This is Kansas City's news.